Hey cats, it's Eddbud here. Over the last couple of years, one of the shoes that's brought lots of interest to the channel and lots of views has in fact been the NIKE Pegasus series. So I'm really pleased to bring you my initial review of the NIKE Air Zoom Pegasus 39. The Pegasus returns and it's a big step in the right direction. Hey cats, welcome back to the channel for an initial review of the Pegasus 39 today. This is a shoe that I bought with my own Earth credits, no freebies here. Nobody's telling me what to say about the shoe, it's just my humble opinions. Let's get straight into it, no messing about. So a big weight loss in this version of the shoe, which is something I'm really pleased to see. In my UK 11, which is a US size 12, these come in at 310 grams, which is 10.9 ounces. In comparison to last year's model, these were 345 grams. That's about 12.2 ounces. So you've got a huge weight loss here, which is something that you don't tend to see all that often. It's quite obvious in hand as well between the two shoes. You really can feel that this one's that bit lighter. 1.2 ounces, something like that, lighter. So it's quite considerable. That's going to mean we've got a little less bulk here in the 39, and it's going to make it a slightly more versatile daily shoe. Now, I measure 37 millimeters of stack height here in the rear of the shoe. That makes for about 29 millimeters in the forefoot, so I think it's about an 8mm drop, something along those lines. I'm finding that the 39 fits true to size. It's pretty representative of most Nike models in terms of the length and width. Retail price is 110 Earth credits over here in the UK, so it's round about in the right sphere for a daily offering. We will start, as always in my reviews, with the upper first. Upper-wise, it's a lesson in simplicity here from Nike. I'd suggest in terms of fit, not massively different to the Pegasus 38 from last year, but what we have in the 39 is a more subtle shoe. It harks back to the 36 actually. If you're a fan of that one, you're gonna like this one. The ankle collar, very reasonably padded, not too plush, but what you find with this version of the Pegasus is that the profile is that little bit lower around the ankle. I really enjoy it. It makes me feel like my foot is very free to move around and flex. The heel flare here a little bit more like the 35 or 36. In fact, the shoe feels closer to the Pegasus 36 than any other shoe that I've tried. We have minimal overlays here in the Pegasus 39. That there is about it. There is a small section there at the rear of the shoe, but like I say, that is about it. They've dispensed with those lace loops that we've had on loads of the Nike shoes recently and gone back to the trusty fly wires. I found that those kept the foot in place and there was almost no lace pressure over the top of my foot. Laces are quite flat and flexible, and I found they did the job. It's almost like Nike have given themselves the remit of getting rid of anything that was unnecessary on the last version of the shoe and ditching it. Just simplifying things to the absolute bare minimum. I do have to note though, the finish on my pair of the shoes is pretty shoddy. Lots of glue marks here, especially on the top of the tongue. I actually had to get a brush and sort of scrape them all off. It looked quite unsightly. On the outsole of the shoe, there was like a spider web of glue here and there in all the nooks and crannies. Pretty poor finish quality really for a shoe that costs over 100 big ones. Now, lace length is fine, unless you want to tie a runner's knot. If that's your vibe, then you'll need the dexterity of a seasoned seamstress to tie them as shown. I do find the upper fit though comfortable and containing over my initial miles. Now I've got about 11 miles into these so far. They've just got all the best upper traits from the Pegasus 38 and transferred them across to this version of the shoe. Toe box, not too voluminous. A nice functional upper here without too much additional material. You know, I really hate it when I have to cinch the laces loads to actually get a reasonable lockdown. Not so here. There's quite a light material on foot as well, so I think it could provide an excellent option for the spring and summer. I'll give it a 2.7 out of 3 after my initial runs for the upper.
Midsole now.
It does feel like we have the same air unit in the forefoot section of the shoe as per the Pegasus 38, but we now have an additional one in the heel as well. So does it make a real big difference? Well, I think it does, but only at faster paces. If you're just going to use these for daily ambling, I don't think it's going to make all that much difference at all. We've still got that same responsive, firmer feel here in the Pegasus 39 as we did in the 38. Perhaps feels a little bit more refined, but that could be down to the upper just being that a little bit more simple, I suppose. Maybe the removal of some of that React foam in the heel is constituting for the weight loss. Could be down to the simplification of the upper too. Maybe hollowing out some of that foam is just made for a slightly lighter shoe, I'm not sure. Underfoot, it's a familiar feeling to previous React-based Pegasus models. The React is a little bit more squashy than the last two though. It's no Zoom X, Fuel Cell or Power Run PB, but it's going to be durable and last the test of time for those daily operations. At easy paces of around 8:30 per mile through to about 8 minutes 15 per mile, the shoe's passable. You know, most shoes will kind of work for that, though I found when I kicked up a gear a little bit to about 7 minutes 45 seconds per mile, the shoe feels a lot better then. The whole setup here with the foam and the Zoom Air units just seems to come alive when you start to put a bit more effort into your run. More propulsive, and those air units start to give a little back. At my goal half marathon pace around 6:50 per mile over some short bursts of around 200 meters, the shoe felt great, and there's no reason why I can't do a little bit of varied training with the Pegasus 39. You know, it's a daily sort of do-it-all shoe, and that's exactly how it's marketed. That's exactly what it delivers, I feel. Certainly a daily shoe here, but I just feel it wants to move a little bit quicker. Am I warming up to React being used in the Pegasus line from Nike? Well, yes, a little bit, but I'm still not dead set of its use in their daily shoes. Would I pick it over Cushlon? No, still I think the Cushlon material is better than React. For this use anyway. I haven't really noticed the heel unit in the rear of the shoe up to now. Maybe on some longer runs perhaps. Though if it is the reason that the weight is down in the shoe, then I'm all for it. As a daily shoe, I think it's a really solid effort. I'll give it a 2.7 out of 3 for the midsole after my initial runs. A smooth ride for your training miles. Outsole. Well, quite the redesign here in the outsole of the Pegasus 39. It really is different to previous models. Just for some comparisons here, we have the Pegasus 38 and this is the 39. As you can see, a 6-segment rubber outsole setup. All the 6 segments are just simply glued onto the bottom of the midsole material. It's probably one of the most aggressive outsole setups that I've seen in a daily shoe, certainly for a long time. It's a waffle-like protrusion fest in the medial sections and a more drawn out and coarse stretched slab of rubber on the lateral side. No major debris pickup to speak of, even though I've been actually running on quite a lot of grass and dirt in these shoes over the last couple of days. I have cleaned them up for you here so they didn't look this pristine beforehand. There was quite a lot of mud and stuff, but nothing major, nothing to write home about. Grip was great across the road, paths and grass sections of my routes, and pretty decent performance in terms of traction, it has to be said. But then you'd expect that for this number of protrusions. It's almost octopus sucker-like in the forefoot, which I'm surprised Nike haven't used in their advertising. These are certainly going to appeal to people who are after a kind of do-it-all sort of daily shoe. I think very few do-it-all shoes will give you this type of performance over multi-terrain. Just works well on loads of different surfaces. So after my initial runs, I'll give it a 2.8 out of 3 for the outsole. That's a big improvement, in fact, over the 38. Feels a little bit more malleable, this rubber. We must now talk value. The daily shoe category is one that is extremely oversubscribed. Loads and loads of options there. It's just saturated. So with this one coming in at £110 here in the UK, can I recommend it over the Adios 6 or something like that? I still think the Adios 6 has got a little bit over this shoe. That little bit lighter, and I find it's got a little bit more pop. You could probably use that for racing. Will I want to race in this? Probably not. Certainly a trainer for me rather than a racer. It's certainly comfortable though, and a no frills offering from Nike. Weight's going back in the right direction, and there's a large dollop of cushion to be had. Though it is a more responsive ride, I still find it quite smooth, but it will lack the squash that many have become accustomed to over the last couple of years. Now, that might be something that you really want. It might be something you do not want. I prefer to train in something that's a little bit firmer perhaps, and this hits the spot. This is an option though that will work for a variety of different sessions, which I found the last few iterations of the shoe haven't been. They've certainly been a sort of more daily slogger. These are a little bit more nimble on foot. Does remind me a little bit of the Rival Fly 3 that I picked up earlier in the year. Certainly in terms of the weight and the profile. At this price point though, it does make me wonder how long Nike will persist with that React and Air Zoom setup that we have here in the Pegasus. How long can they go on using this React carrier when loads of other manufacturers are implementing some of their top line foams into their daily shoes? The more forgiving materials are very, very attractive to runners right now, and I think it's only a matter of time before Nike bench React as their main carrier for something that's a little bit more forgiving. As such, I'm going to give this a 2.7 out of 3 for value. I think it will cover pretty much most bases. They fixed a load of the problems from the 37 and 38, and what we get is a much better shoe here. They're definitely the best one that we've had since the 36, that's for sure. So a 2.7 out of 3 for value after my initial runs. If I've totaled the scores up correctly, that gives us a 10.9 out of 3 for the Pegasus 39 after my initial runs. Will you be picking up the Pegasus 39 from Nike? It's recently released here in the UK. I think it's probably out very soon over in the US. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. A musical interlude for you. I'm a big Richard Hawley fan. Always have been since I heard his early material. I love his singing voice. I also love his very expressive guitar playing style. The man is a true rocker at heart. He has a wonderful collection of guitars too. A real maestro on the 6-stringed instrument. One of my favourite albums from Richard Hawley, which is a bit overlooked. People know some of the previous ones to this, and they were quite big. I got into the charts. This one wasn't quite as big. His True Love's Gutter is an absolute gem. If you can go and find it, go and listen to it on a streaming site. It is fantastic. I love the first 2 tracks, most of all of the whole album. As the dawn breaks, you can almost feel the sort of sun coming up there. The very early morning, the birds sort of singing. It really does paint a Scott Walker type vibe. And then the second track, Open Up Your Door, is just beautiful. It is a lesson in terms of production subtlety. Just the way the track opens up into the chorus section is a thing to behold. It is one of my favourite tunes. Richard Hawley is a fantastic live performer as well. If you do get the chance to go and see him, I suggest you take up that opportunity. Go and check this one out, guys. True Love's Gutter by Richard Hawley. Thanks for tuning in, cats. It's always appreciated. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications. Give this video a thumbs up, like, and also share it with your running buddies. My name's Eddbud, and I'll be seeing you